Working good?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. So today afternoon teaching is calm body, focusing for breath. The 2:30 to 3, which is going to teach calm body meditation, focusing for breath, and then 3 to 3:15 we're going to do meditation. Then 3:15 to 4 between is giving answer. So some answers are read this morning. So maybe you also have new questions. So what you're going to give answer. That is 3:15 to 4. So 4 o'clock we have a half-hour break, and then starting 4:30 to 5:30 teaching. So these are meditation teachings. Today, tomorrow is 4 days from this book. In this meditation stage book from this book. So today teaching is I think it's page 52. Like these all meditation stages is from the page 52 starting. This book starting from is page 50. Page 50.
Like echo. Voices are talking, like people going.
Where are you listening from? Well, yeah, because it's going through that. That's right.
Okay, so we do the 7 branches prayer before the teaching. It's page 14. Page 14. apostolic to them. But you play my body as many gems as they are atoms of the earth. In each atom are visualized as many Buddhas as they are atoms, surrounded by countless Bodhisattvas. Thus all space is filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I praise all Buddhas through manifesting, expressing the great ocean of their excellent qualities. To all the Buddhas I make offerings of virtues, pure flowers, flower garlands, or music, ornamenting oils, manifesting clay, and fragrant incense. I make offerings to them of fine garments, perfume, and coral, held high as Mount Meru, and orange in the most beautiful way. I visualize the highest and most expensive offerings, and all offer them with great faith to all the Buddhas. I prostrate to the Buddhas and make offerings to them, following the deeds of the great Bodhisattva Samanthabhadra. I confess to you, Buddhas, whatever negative actions I have committed due to the power of hunger, desire, and ignorance. I rejoice in the merit of all the Buddhas in the 10 directions of the great Bodhisattvas and the Bhaktika Buddhas, those who have attained Arahantship, those who have inquired the path of Arahantship, and all other beings. I request to all great protectors and Buddhas to turn the high sphere of Dharma as the light dispelling the darkness of things in the 10 directions and leading them gradually to the enlightened state. I make request to those Buddhas intending to pass into Nirvana to live long for as many ages as there are atoms of the earth in order to benefit all beings. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostration, offerings, compassion, rejoicing, visiting, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate.
So just before Madame and we talked about meditation, there were several questions about also the physical posture and then our support, our focus and so on. And so, therefore I wanted to introduce to you this meditation bell that an older disciple gave me. So this is the traditional meditation bell that we wear in a retreat. And so normally we say that this is actually to be kept secret or hidden, but in reality there's really no need to keep it secret. So that is the traditional meditation bell that is used for retreatants who practice in a long-term retreat, for example in a mountain retreat and so on. So when this is really their only support, or their only their own, one of their very few things that they bring with them. They don't have any bedding or pillows and sleeping. There isn't, blankets and so on. But they just stay there seated and never lie down, and supported by this meditation bell. And in that way they can sleep at any place, even at not so clean places and so on. And also it is very helpful sitting upright through the night, supported by this meditation bell. Is also very supportive in the practice of the dream yoga and the recognizing of the luminosity, the clear light. And so now, even though we might not have the time, the opportunity to do such a retreat, we can still use a meditation bell. For example, it is very helpful to control our sleep. Also, since you asked questions about back pain and so on, it is actually a great back support too. It is like a lean that you can lean back to. And so it gives support to your back and also helps with back pain. For the size, it is measured depending on one's own length of an arm span's length. That is this, and then that times 2. So that is what is used in our retreats. Actually, a retreat mainly in such a retreat we mainly rely on such a meditation belt. If we are able to stay sitting upright in this meditation belt, then really we are able to properly practice the retreat. And so when we go into retreat, traditionally there is nothing else that we bring, pillows and beddings and so on, and you can still sleep being supported by this meditation belt. And also it is actually very helpful to protect you from cold. You don't get cold too much. And also, as you can see, my meditation belt, this red belt, is also made into a little bag, so I can store all kinds of things in there. So it is actually very practical. So even if you don't use it for practice or anything at all, at least it's very practical, a very practical bag that you can also use to store things. And at the time of war, during the Cultural Revolution, actually, my retreat was interrupted, so I didn't have time, the opportunity to practice in retreat. And so at that time in war, we obviously had no pillows and beddings and so on, so I only really had the meditation belt, and that really supported also my practice and also the sleep time during those times in war. It also protected me from getting too cold. So I wanted to introduce that to you because it might be beneficial. So certainly when we practice the 6 yogas of Naropa in retreat, one certainly needs such a meditation belt. That is a very important object during the retreat. And then there is always an outer inner and a secret meaning to anything. So also to this meditation belt there is this outer inner and secret meaning. For example, in the Vinaya teachings, it can be considered to be the meditation belt can be worn instead of a Dharma robe, for example, to represent the Dharma robe. And then also, it is even more profound if you understand the meaning from the tantric perspective. But even if we do not really understand all its meanings, it can still be very useful. For example, by controlling our sleep and not getting too cold, supporting our back. Also, it would be made into a very useful bag to store all kinds of things. So this is what I invented, but the meditation belt was there before. And so I wanted to introduce that to you because an older disciple gave that to me, and many of the older disciples have many years of experience in practice. And so you know then that this is what you use for the practices, especially in a 3-year retreat when you practice the chants and drops, and you definitely need this meditation belt. And so some people say that it is secret, it should be hidden, but actually there is no need to hide a meditation belt. And so, this is what I wanted to introduce to you.
내가 봐. 지사면은 그냥 매일 받는 차로 이제 원 그냥 한 지는 내가 다 농장하는 거 있어. 다 루틴성 에바들 가서 소소 안 그냥 그런 거 인지 문제지로 받는 거 지키는 거 말이에요. 제가 그냥 같이 치고 몽투를 이용을 생기게 인지 거로 따로 생기지 봐요. 따로 생기지는 않아요. 생기는 핑고 석핑을 고도서 핑을 해서 뭐야 내가 대답을 드리니 동료한테 사람처럼 따로 생기는 걸 봐지. 여기 공작처럼 뭐 다른 나기는 이제 봐지 비슷하게 생기 단계를 때도 도발시고 비슷하게 이제 삭제된 거와 일단 똑같이 대상 톱이 오는 말이 있잖아. 톱이 오는 데는 다른 세우게 하고 있었는데 그냥 고피증이 많은데 아니 상태는 그것을 생각 대화가 당신은 그 생각이 살아 그래서 제가 힘내라서 봐 내가 생각대로 안에 다 이렇게 따르면 이제 또 생기 약점 많아 받아내고 생기 자꾸 무슨 변기가 왔다는 게 지고해 이제 거기에 가서 이제 대화했다고 도와주고 생기 뭐야 보면 전부 생기 이제 뭐야 될 만큼만 생기됐다고 이게 보면 뭐 아주 고려했지
And so then coming back to the shamatha practice, so there are many different levels to the meditation practice, the shamatha. There is the shamatha with the support and shamatha without a support, shamatha using the winds of the breathing, and then shamatha not using the breathing and so on, the breath. So there's many different levels that we go through step by step, and so that may make you wonder or think that I probably must follow each of these steps. But this is not necessarily the case actually. Actually, you should apply the practice according to your own experience in the practice. So you should apply it in whichever way actually suits you the best. It is not absolutely necessary to follow each of those steps. For example, there is some individuals who have some habituation already from past lifetimes, and for them it is easier to just stay calmly, naturally, without the need for any kind of method or any kind of support. Any kind of method like the shamatha with or without a support and so on. They can simply remain in a still, even state. And then, if that is not the case, then we gradually practice, and we also here look at whatever makes the mind abide. So if the mind is not abiding, then first we use an object as support. And then when we find the mind can abide there, then we practice without any support, just looking at our mind. And then at times we can close our eyes and try to just abide in that way. So we can gradually progress in this way and see what works for us. So it is said that it is not about a certain a kind of a meditation that we need to follow, but the point is the habituation of the mind itself, the abiding of the mind itself. So in the beginning, the mind, you will find it difficult to remain still without any reference point. And if the mind cannot abide still, then we need to find something to focus on. So then, as a method for the mind to stay still and not grasp at all kinds of things, we, for example, focus on our breathing and so on. So that is called the shamatha, using the breathing, for instance. But whichever method you use, you really have to see for yourself and look at your own experience, how it works for you. There's really no rule that tells you you must follow each of these steps exactly as it is explained. So you also need to use your own insight to see what really applies to you and how to apply it to yourself. But what is certainly necessary in every session is to take refuge and to cultivate the right motivation in the beginning. And so that even if you do not have anything to read, you can just visualize that. You can just think to yourself, I want to benefit all sentient beings. And who is benefiting sentient beings? It is ultimately the three jewels. So therefore, I take refuge in the three jewels. So if you only understand and contemplate that meaning, then there is no actual need to always recite something. You can just visualize the refuge and the motivation, and then you meditate, and then in the end of the meditation you dedicate those virtues from your meditation. And again, even if you do not recite anything, you can think, I am dedicating this virtue to all sentient beings. So that is called a conceptual dedication. So then, however, on the ultimate level, the ultimate dedication, we do this conceptual dedication because we think that ultimately sentient beings on the ultimate level, how can they actually receive our dedication? And we don't understand that. And so here it is important to understand that we all possess Buddha nature. And because there is Buddha nature, beings can be benefited only through our intention. For example, if you love your friend, then naturally the friend will feel happy next to you. If you are angry with your friend, then naturally you will suffer. Or even your cats and dogs and so on will also feel your emotion. All of those who are close to you, who surround you, who are connected to your mind in a way, they are also affected. And so then you can expand that mind to reach all mother sentient beings. And so since it can reach some beings, it can also reach all beings. So in this way you can develop trust, how your mind can pervade all beings. And then you really understand how the dedication of your virtue of meditation can really be received by all sentient beings. So in this way you can also perform a mental dedication. And so even if you do not have anything to recite, any text to recite, you should still always follow those three steps. The motivation and refuge in the beginning, then the meditation, and then the dedication in the end. So then for the breathing, so that a circle of breathing consists of 3 steps. There's the inhalation, the remaining, the abiding of the air, and then the exhalation. So, we inhale the air, and then the abiding is that the winds should abide at the navel. This is not mentioned in the text, but it is mentioned elsewhere when one has cultivated already a greater stability and less grasping. When we come to actually the meditation without the winds, without the breath, there's a subtle winds that abide at the navel. In any case, we inhale the wind, then the subtle winds abide at the navel for a bit. So at that time, you hold the air, you retain the air at the navel for a little while. And in holding it is slightly pressing the winds down, keeping them in the navel. And at that time, you should meditate for a short while. But also, you should not force yourself to hold the breath for too long. You just hold it for as long as it is comfortable. And then the winds abide at the navel center. When the winds abide at the navel center for a longer time after practice, then naturally, eventually a feeling of well-being, of bliss arises. So then the mind abides calmly, remains within a state of shamatha. For the shamatha that uses the winds or the breath, there is no special support of an object or focus that is mentioned here. According to the tantric tradition, for example, when we practice the 6 yogas of Naropa, the navel is described to be a very special place. It is the place where all the warmth energy of the body has its main seat. And it is a special place because the navel is the place where the vital essence of the red drops that we have received from our mothers remain. And this is also the point where the body was born from. So we first were born through the navel connected to our mothers. The body is just, the navel center is just like in an apple, the stalk of an apple, like right in the center. It is the kingdom or the royal seat of all the wind energies. It is where all the vital essences of all the wind energies abide. So therefore, it is a very profound point for the wind energies to abide at the navel. And so then in the context of practicing the shamatha without breathing, we develop first some stability, and then of shamatha, and then when that is attained, then we only focus on sustaining that by observing the breathing. And then the breathing becomes more and more subtle as stability increases. For example, in Gampopa's case, it was said that throughout the 6 times of day and night, which is within a whole day and night, he only had to breathe 3 times. And so that is a sign of his strong habituation in the meditation, of the abiding quality of the mind. So for as long as the mind is controlled still by various thoughts, our breathing also corresponds to that. Our breathing is shorter. And so then, now regarding the shamatha with or without breathing, from the perspective of actual experience, it seems that first one habituates to the shamatha that uses the breathing as a support, and when that is habituated, then one naturally comes to the shamatha without breathing, which means breathing actually seems to stop, and that is when there is no more grasping at all, no more grasping even to breathing at all, and this is when wisdom becomes great. This is what I believe happens, but I'm not completely certain. But it seems to be that way. That first we habituate, and then through habituation to observing the winds, we naturally become windless or without breathing. For example, some people observe when they look at great meditators, what they see is that they're not breathing. So it seems that they're actually not breathing. So then people say they have stopped breathing. Even other people can observe that. Oneself actually does not really notice whether or not one is breathing. There's no grasping. But other people can actually see that such a person is not breathing at all. So this is also probably what is meant with the shamatha without breathing. It develops from with breathing to without breathing.
이제 아까 원통을 잡아가서 잡았을 때라 이렇게 민지 대표하고 그러면 바람아 사기는 람스를 강대 왕대 람스 생각이 이렇게 생각이 어떤나 하는 생각 고통 사이는 또 마찬가지로 생각 대바다 뭐야 어디 람스 기는 이간 탑스가나 비비 많이 직접 잡아서 마오라더니 라마게 디가로 다 바꾼 더서 제가 공자야 대형적으로 주로 라마키는 장로신 기상제들을 참여로서
So then when we do a short meditation the session, so then actually, as I mentioned, it is not necessary. You don't have to recite a text of refuge and bodhicitta. You can, for example, just bring to mind the Guru or the Buddha or to whomever you feel devotion or faith, and just bring them to mind at once. And when you habituate to doing that, the moment you close your eyes, they already appear in your mind. But even if they do not appear, you should still cultivate devotion and faith to the Guru. Even if you do not recite verbally the refuge or the bodhicitta, the motivation prayer. So you bring to mind the Guru and then directly engage in meditation practice. Actually, it is that remembering, thinking of the Guru in itself naturally includes the refuge and the motivation.
Now we go to meditation for 15 minutes.
heard that you must drink lots of water after you finish meditating. Is that necessary and why? Gom yapsa tu, jadi chum botung berengat in kosong, chum. Tidak instrument itu gom tu jadi instrument kona karet ini gom je.
Ni makhluk form gom berengat. Gom tu ni makhluk berengat, kok jadi tahu berengat. Wadah kelak macam ni, ni malam sini. Kok aja jangan kalau ni kalau gimana? Komjat satu ini kok nak sebab boleh. Kasi ni kok berapa? Ni kok nak ni, orang jam sat, orang je sat, orang je shopong, ni sebab jadi ni kok berapa? Ni kok tak. Cakap lah, jauh boleh lah. Kau jangan tahu je.我也录不学，你们可是录不学，录，哇，啊，你们可能，然后看看谁来，然后看看谁来，你们可，你空不说同你们的，我就说同你们。录不说就不来，晚上把老房的电视新出来，录不说啊。我都是主切个，而且张木还是草切的，张木细是。
But the only reason why we should drink water is because then we don't sleep so much. So in order to meditate, we should not sleep, and so therefore we should not also eat too much actually in the evening. It is that if we don't eat too much in the evening, or if we don't eat in the evening, then it is also easier to recognize the dream state. However, regarding after the meditation, normally we want to go to sleep, so that's why we should drink water so that we don't go to sleep after meditation. Because in order to meditate, we shouldn't sleep. And so for the sleep to be lighter, then we should not eat in the evening. And also it will be good to do some prostrations, and if you can't do that, move the body a bit. And then eat some or drink some of the sheep yogurt in order not to sleep too much, because the other kind of yogurt, like the goat or the cow's yogurt, actually has a different kind of quality. It's a bit has more of a colder quality, and the sheep yogurt has more of a warmer quality. So it's also a bit stronger. So then, in order not to sleep too much, therefore in the evening it's good to eat some sheep yogurt. And when instructed to watch the mind, which part of us is watching it? Is the mind watching itself with the eyes? Could you explain?
새 같은데 몇개 따블러다 몇개 쳤다고 그래. 나는 따라지 세부세부 따라더니 따고 따사따면 이리 와나를 그래. 새는 나도 요미 통그래. 또다 나도 또다 나도 말을 쓰나 나도 나도 이 하고 그래. 이 말은 애들이 땅풍이 시바대 애들이 저녁을 잡고 자야 되나. 땅풍이 시바대 랑기게 데려온 데들로는 이 땅풍이 시바대 딱 나도 직접 내봤거든요. 이 땅풍이 시바사오지 저녁을 그래. 내가 소리 때문에 랑기게 따사따면 이미가 랑기게 차요 그래. 제가 있으면 그렇지. 다른 내 생각만들이 락통되다, 락통내대, 이 통을 락오들, 제가 그렇게 이 통으로 다만 통을 락발 통으로 발 통으로 이미가 생내 관은 이미가 남파는 것이 차서는 이니까리 고아차 남파는 이미도 없지. 그래서 깍동만이나 바닥도만이 도마도만이 그만이나 차선 남고가든 이미도 없어. 이 가보지 고아고 이미가 고아를 해야지.
When the mind watches itself, it's different than the outer watching with the eyes. So the mind watches when we watch the outer viewing with the eyes is when with the eyes we view an outer object. We look at something. So that's the outer looking. The inner looking is when the mind views itself. And so actually in the beginning it is there seems to be a duality of one who sees and something to be seen, a seer and a seen. When actually these are just various thoughts in the mind. So in the beginning there seems to be this duality. And so first of all what we see in the beginning is whether or not thoughts arise and what thoughts arise. And so there's a knowing that knows whether there are thoughts or whether there are no thoughts. And so then we habituate that recognizing. And slowly we habituate to only put our attention to the recognizing awareness that observes all those thoughts coming and going. So that awareness must be sustained. That's the one to be habituated. And then also begin the experience that there's also times when there is no thoughts, and then still this clear knowing awareness is still there. It's actually always there, naturally. And so then when that is sustained, slowly this duality of the one who views at that or the seer and the seen, then slowly diminishes and disappears. And then the mind becomes very pure. And that pure mind is the non-dual wisdom. And that is then the vipassana special insight. So in the beginning we have an ordinary sight, so we see a duality, one views the other. But then when we gain a special insight, we see that which we have not seen before, but which was there before. And so what we see here is the non-dual mind that becomes just like space. So when we look at space, we can gain an understanding. We can understand that within space there is no duality. Or for example, if you have two empty vases and then they both break, and then the emptiness of both vases becomes one. There is no distinction between the emptiness of both vases. So first we need to habituate that understanding. And slowly through habituating the understanding becomes an experience of non-duality. What do realization and experience mean? What is the difference between these two?
Die toosiatirvat ta kovan jonga tokasom yora nyong tam toksina kiva khareres toksia khareres nyong sia khareres
용서하는 점점은 뭐 대리선은 용을 대나지 과도 차서지 또 되지 남그 딱딱지게 내다 그러네. 어제 대리 가지나 뭐라고 이게 좀 내가 당고 고 받을 또 되지 이런 버전이 최첨단 거예요. 처음에 님도 좋아가지고 최첨단 거예요. 차요 그러지. 아 인게지. 너무 좀 기뻐지. 그래서 그렇게 받고 이게 처음에 봐야 싶어요. 상초 생대 사바지 니게지. 문에 전에 내가 처리 되어 찾아보고 산지하고 합작은 성사하고 선지는 대시에 따고 지원을 시켜요. 그것도 대사를 시켜요. 이 성분데 눈에 참 너무 소도 대화 참 지원을 시켜도 다들 대화한테 대화 통지 되게 되듯이 안 되게 타도 주고 다른 것도 이제 하고 책 보지나 여기저기 어디 대화를 때 피드 때문에 쭉다로 많이 좋았나 아주 그것도 미리 시지 알아야지.
So first we understand something, and then we sometimes have this an experience where when after we cultivate this understanding, we feel like, oh, this is really how it is. This is really true. So that is we gain an experience and how something is really true, how it really is. And then realization, to realize that means that you can always, or to realize the mind, for instance, means that you can always stay within this nature. You can always remain within it, just natural. You always abide within the nature of the mind without the need of any deliberate meditation, actually. You naturally abide always. So that is then final realization. So we go through these 3 steps of first we understand, and then we experience through meditation, practice, and then we realize. And realization means that we become free of any doubts about this nature at all. Our trust and our abiding within this nature becomes unchanging. So in terms of the mind, it is when you realize, there's no more doubt that the mind is a non-dual nature, and then you have realized the nature of the mind, and then you will always remain within this nature. Or on the relative level, for example, realization means to realize the meaning of karma, cause and effect. And so what that means is you have developed a complete confidence in bodhicitta, in love and compassion. You are certain that love and compassion truly lead to the happiness temporarily in the higher realms, and ultimately to the attainment of enlightenment. So you realize the relative truth when you have developed a complete trust, a confidence in love. When you have confidence, when you know that the afflictions are what create all the suffering in the lower realms, and love is what creates all happiness. So to resolve that and to be fully confident in that, really understand karma, and to know that there is no other cause for happiness than love, really trusting in karma is to realize the workings of karma, or the relative truth.
용제는 다 조폐진이 양대되는 영화적으로 한번 좋아지는 컨트롤하는 다 사지라고 모든 빛이 알고 저는 컨트롤은 다 나도 컨트롤 취향이고 말이죠. 같은 내가 다 용은 거예요. 생기 이 사주와 컨트롤 다 용제들이 되는 용도는 컨트롤 가지로는 터치들이 컨트롤 잘해지 컨트롤 가까이에서 유용한 거 컨트롤이 생각해서는 용지 이 컨트롤 잘하는데라 참 가세랑 나오고 상세다 보자 일주일 팔았으면 딱또 컨트롤 내 동안이 돼서 컨트롤 남는 데가 지나 다 그냥 누가 같이 해오니 고소랑 판사야 그런 게임을 해오지. 오, 그것도 좀 내서 안돼 봐서 동방도 동방이 있고 고소 가면 제가 고랑 좀 해서 최라고 그래야지. 또 유모가 동방이 돼야지. 다시가 또 그래 제일 봐야 말해야지.
So first we understand the workings of karma, and then we understand that love is the cause of happiness. And then experience here, for example, means that, for example, you have a friend that you love very much, and then you get angry at that friend. Gaining experience here means that in the moment the anger arises, you would immediately recognize it and think, now I'm angry. If I fall under the power of anger, I will lose my love for my friend. So what I really want to eliminate is the anger. What is really the real like the structure here is the moment of anger. So that is what I want to get rid of. So then if you know that, if you clearly recognize the destructiveness of anger, you will remain silent, for example, and not say anything, or not act out at all. You will practice patience. So that is to gain an experience. One time and then a second time, every time you get angry, you practice patience. Whenever you're able to practice patience, you're gaining an experience. And then whenever anger arises, you always recognize it as the actual enemy. And recognizing it in that way, you can separate the anger from your body and your speech. You detach it, which means you don't act out on it, but you practice patience. And that is the experience. And then in the end, you will eliminate all anger. Then there is no more anger. Then no matter what other people do or say, you will be able to sustain love and be patient. And that is the perfection of patience. And then ultimately you realize that anger is actually also empty. It actually does not truly exist. It is only if we follow the anger and we act out on it, then we are using our speech or our hands to hurt others. But if it is just left alone and we don't follow the anger, then actually it becomes emptiness. So therefore, ultimately, although relatively karma is infallible, ultimately it is also emptiness. It is just like a wave appearing on the water. And so then that would be the final realization of it. It is when you realize that the affliction is actually empty. And so at that point, when you realize the affliction to be empty, then the affliction cannot harm you or affect you in any way.
용화되시다 조금 많이만 너무 많은 거 그래서 참으로 또 타마대라도 오 다시 시원도 좀 오고 된저 바리에시 내 바지 주인의 되게 방석으로 예 당시 차당 먹고 차 계단 가자 유목 나고 이거 즉이 시합 방석으로 해야지.
So then, the experience not only applies now to anger, but actually any thought that arises with regard to any of the five sense pleasures, for example, attachment. For example, when you are attached to smoking or drinking alcohol and so on, first you think it's so pleasant. But then with wisdom, you can also, in the next moment, remember all the faults and the destruction it causes. And so then the same goes for all the other five afflictions of attachment, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. So actually, there's a single antidote to all of them, and that is we let them go through discriminating wisdom. In the past, when I visualized the firing home at the navel, I felt a great loss of energy, and so much so that I have flu-like symptoms, headache, joint pain, and have even gotten cold afterwards and felt disoriented. Is it? Do I need to clarify my mind? Just one word I can read. Do I need to clarify my mind concepts so as not to become physically ill? Umayana tini devala hong me rangshin kongi yorwa. Ti kombe kapla tini samsala pe nga shuk me wada changre. Pe tangchel shuk me wada changre. Tini ta sawan nasa nangshin pe na bo naya tini sik saman naya tini di chila pe supur jammo la tanang ye do. Tini pe thong la koyo koya. Tini telang ta kare ina nata supo pe na gre dina komnara. Tini nga sem na namdochi nela zo koya shi yor ves. Ati nga sem namdo ye pe kyon rive tila kusu.
제가 되니 매가 저렇게 사와서 가는 막 없니 홍주고 대형 마비나 대형 소리가 이렇게 발야 가는 거 공지 저 방도 뒤로 위에다가 kom 가시게 된 상황이랑 빠져 먹고를 내신다 가 가라 빠져 먹나 이렇게 그러지 가시게 됩니다.
좋은 거 거라?
생생적으로 하나가 좀 많이 가 하나가 좀 많이 가 생파를 하고 생파를 이제 좀 얘기를 이슈를 넣으면서 어디를 넣어서 하나가 좀 많이 가 하나가 꼭 말아 그래서 하나가 꼭 이런 거 봐요 이제 하나가 좀 하지 다음부터 생지 이와 되고 몰라 하나가 좀 보지 이와 지금 그거 참자 기분을 봐요
So if that creates sort of visualizing the hot nature of the home, if that creates discomfort, you can also just not think about in terms of heat or cold the home syllable and only focus on the home syllable without imagining it to be hot. Just visualize the home, and then still, if you still feel uncomfortable, then you can also let that be. You don't have to visualize the home. Then you can also just do a general meditation that focuses on the breathing, or even that without breathing. And also you can try focusing on different places of the body. For example, you can focus on the point between the eyebrows or the heart or any other place in the body, any other chakra. And so here, when we talk about the winds and the minds should abide, let's say at the navel, then here we are talking about the subtle wind energies, which are the wisdom winds, or the life-sustaining subtle winds. These are not the coarse winds, which is our breath, our breathing, that is the air that moves through our mouth. So this is not that kind of wind we're talking about. We're talking about a much more subtle wind, the mind, which is a wind energy. The mind itself is a wind energy. And so if we focus much on the outer, the coarse air, the breath, then that could lead to all kinds of problems. So if you force yourself to hold your breath for too long, for example, then that can cause all kinds of problems. So you can just breathe naturally on the outer level, so the air, the actual breath, you can just breathe naturally, but have your mind abide at the navel. And so the mind itself is a subtle wind energy, and so then the mind wind abides at the navel. Does eating meat affect meditation?
Shasanara, sosu komkaya de la nubayore, pembayore, shasayate.
샤사노니나 샤마들 영기가 돼서요. 뭐 샤마다 샤마다야. 샤마다 전서로 니요 샤게 기본을 지모로 너무 샤사를 이 차야. 이내 양지 속으로 봐요. 그렇지.
So it depends on also your habit. So if you are used to eating meat from before and you will suddenly stop eating meat, so maybe that will not be so good for your body. But if you have not such a strong habit of eating meat before, then just generally speaking, it's better not to eat meat. Better for your meditation not to eat meat. Because the benefit of not eating meat in terms of meditation is that you will sleep lesser, and also flesh or the meat is related to the affliction of ignorance. So then you have to see your own physical disposition. If you suddenly stop eating meat when you're used to it, it could also be harmful. So it depends. When I meditate, can I chant mantras or must I keep silent? Can I also do hand mudra like White Tara? Kom jape kapla ini penanyam pada nanti reves yang ini faktum dan naju reves ini yang nyemba madana yang benar drama kamu ki kalau lapa chakya ya lapa chakya ocia yang chino reves.
곰 담보 잡고 가서 그런 제기는 말이야. 정말 나도 이렇게 봐 직접 곰 그거다. 지금 곰 잡는 곰수 이만큼 내가 내가 이쪽으로 상처를 받는 내가 내가 잡아 지가들이 초라로 사자고 곰 잡는 애들이 가라살 조차 야르도 그런 관계들이 가르치는 내가 잘 지가들이 그냥 되고래.
And so for a beginning practitioner, in the beginning we should first of all only focus on meditation practice when we meditate. And during our meditation we should not do anything else. So at that time we should not recite mantras or spin the prayer wheel and so on, only focus on meditation. But then later, when we have grown accustomed to the practice, when nothing affects us or harms our meditation state anymore, then we can do all these practices like the mudras or the mantra and the prayer wheel and so on. In all our activities, then there is no harm. Then we can do the various like sadhanas or the mudras within them and so on. In whatever you do, for example, when you're eating or when you're sleeping or when you're walking or sitting and so on, in all activities, if when nothing harms your state of meditation, no matter what you do, then you can apply those various mudras and different practices. But in the beginning, it is better to separate that from your meditation and only focus first on the meditation itself. How many meditation sessions should a beginner do every day? How long should these sessions be? 다 담보배 갑람 그래서 검퉁 가지고 오지. 근데 검퉁을 유림동 가지고 오지.
소소다 탕마치는 소소기 양쪽다 소소까지 탕치는 상도 그래 양이들아 저 양상도 양소 공통자 양권 이 몸이 공기지 요런 탕치를 그런지 생각하지 요런 탕치를 따는 유모가 또 가르치고 하고는 비지지지 요런 탕치를 이 가는 요런 탕치를 나야다 제가 라포유가 되어서 요런 탕치를 이런 거만 그렇지 지금 지시고래 소대 같이 타나들이 야와버려.
So that depends on yourself, so that you have to see for yourself. You should interrupt the meditation whenever you feel getting tired and your mind becomes unclear. But for as long as you're not tired or unclear, you continue your meditation. Whenever you feel you're losing your clarity, then you interrupt it for some time, and then you come back to the meditation, and then you repeat that until you habituate. So it is really there's no set time or number. You really really have to see for yourself. And then ultimately, you have to bring that meditation also to all your everyday activities. In whatever you do, you should sustain mindfulness, always being mindful of what arises in your mind, what thoughts, what afflictions arise. And at that time, when you're always mindful, then in all activities, in whatever you do, you can also practice the mantra, you can spin the prayer wheel, you can do other practices of virtue, of body and speech, while at the same time always remaining mindful and undistracted. So in terms of the number and timing, again, it really depends on yourself, but of course, the longer you're able to abide, the more you can meditate, the better it is.
같이 범죄는 양 내가 지금 제대로가 범죄를 자도 쳐보는 거예요. 이거는 조건을 하면 내가 저기 줄 내가 제 아무튼 이렇게 내가 자 여러 개씩 봐요. 개씩 집어서 내 다음부터 개씩 개인서 보면 라마 개인서 보면 라마 제가 쳐보면 라마가 예단다 사계라서 관계 있잖아. 내 개씩 집어서 내 개인서 봐지 나오니까 양 라마도 쭉 쳐도 내가 제거를
And so sometimes also it happens actually some people they like to meditate and then they only want to meditate and they don't want to do anything else. So they want to stop working and they don't want to do anything else, only meditate. And so at that time again we need to discipline ourselves and again be very disciplined in terms of our meditation time, because we do have to work and fulfill other like responsibilities. So we have to be diligent also with keeping that time through mindfulness. But for beginning practitioners, it is difficult to always recognize the state of mindfulness. So what beginning practitioners can recognize is, for example, a guru. If you have a guru you're devoted to, so then you think of your guru or your yidam or the Buddha, and then that mindfulness of that guru, thinking of the guru actually, that thought of the guru is mindfulness. But then also you have to be disciplined to do whatever work you have to do. When I meditate, I feel some movement at the navel area. Is it normal?
Kom kya kaplam nga tewala ta uju kya bacha kya tsawa ji ge do uju ge yu ge do tsawa ji ge do yu ta bacha ne thar do uju kya ge thar do tewala kom kya kaplam ti khare na
对弄对吧？那样的，弄对吧？那个这里早错吧，炒菜做啊这些，拉皮个这里，一炒菜个红肉，然后一个红肉然后用个炸的，这个我们要这个东西先那样子而且他把这些就让他别接种的这个这些炒的把它做出来的，这先这炸的不是种的这。我的妈的是轰什么轰的是，你让我们这样，这个要不然。
And so when the subtle winds abide at the navel center, then there is one might experience a sensation that comes from the channels, the pulsating, like a pulsating, vibrating feeling. From the channels, the vitality of the channels pulsating, and that actually is a natural vibration that gives off the sound hong. Hong is actually a natural resounding sound that appears when the mind abides still, and so when that is achieved in meditation, then also you will always be mindful, present in all your activities throughout the day. And so then that is it develops into supreme mindfulness. So then when supreme mindfulness is achieved, then all sounds will appear as the mantra or as the syllable home, the resounding of the syllable home. I meditate, I saw lots of blue lights and trees. I wonder if this is normal, because no matter how much I try to focus back to my own self, the trees and blue lights do keep showing up. Nga kom kya pe kapla, teni mungko, teni shingdong mambo thong lius, shingdong ra, teni di kapla, ta nga ta katsu, ta la rik, chudo katsu majena yang, chudo majena yang ra, ko rangshin katya tena shar do, ta kare chena yang, mungko dang shingdong mambo, di shingdong ra.
나 지도하는 게 있는 거예요. 매너는 중에도 약도 지도하는 파이야. 참선 차리고 참선이 가이나 사람도 상관하는 거 말이에요. 샤라든지 뭐도 좋잖아. 안 보면 잘잖아. 인생은 사고 참을 가이나 파이야. 이 시기는 이 샤스도 시기는 시바지. 어디 제 덮을 때 그래서 하고 어디 가이게 시선. 오, 시기 쪽에 샤야에만 보셔서는데 지금 이쪽하고 봐도 시그들 나들이 공나고 시그니 오천들이 이제 원하는 거 시그니 이거들이 제가 나도 이제 시작적으로 마음 봐 비행기들이 남아요. 남들만 사고 생들만
So whatever appears, you should not wonder about it, or even don't think about it. Anything appears just like a reflection in a mirror. So don't investigate it, label it in terms of good or bad, this or that. All kinds of things can appear. Sometimes things arise, and sometimes they disappear, nothing arises. So no matter what it is that appears, don't think about it, don't wonder what it means or what it is. Let it all be. So that refers to all kinds of perceptions, whether it is anything that we might see, like seeing an object, or any sound that we might hear, or any thoughts or experiences arising in the mind. Whatever arises, let it be, and don't think about it. But then what you have to recognize is the awareness that knows that what has appeared, the knowing awareness. That is really the one that you need to look at, not the experience or the arising. So with each experience, whatever arises, there's always this one knowing mind that knows what arises. So there's all kinds of things that can appear, but there's only one that recognizes all those appearances. And all those appearances, no matter how many there are the same as in we need to disregard them and look at the one who's recognizing them. So look at that one, not at the experience. Because when you lose this recognizing awareness, then you've lost your meditation. For as long as you have this recognizing awareness, you're not losing your meditation, and then slowly you are able to let go of all kinds of thoughts that arise later on. And that ultimately also is your inner guru. This mindfulness is your inner guru, it is your guru of bodhicitta.
이건 사처럼 뭐를 못지 무슨 사람으로 뭐를 못지 레스 파이야는 아디 안 뭐를 못지 사람이 옆으로서 가슴이 공나로 쭉쭉 지도하고 누군지 들라고 봐 아무가를 사람 파이야야 예전에 방들람이 자상이 되는 롱롱들이 그다음에 사용으로 무슨 사람들이 선택이고 사람들이 사례에 라면서 시바디 좀 상고로 그러면 이거로 복방하고 파야 돼 정말 좋은 거예요.
So no matter what appears, for example, even if a deity appears, or even if, say, Guru Rinpoche appears, then you should just recognize, oh, there's Guru Rinpoche, and then let it go again. But if you begin to think about it, you think, oh, Guru Rinpoche appeared to me, this is so wonderful, then when you begin to feel very happy about this, you have actually already lost your meditation. And then the same goes for any other appearance. For example, if an evil spirit appears, something that is very frightening appears, you also just let it be in the very same way. The different appearances that manifest are related to the winds, the movement of the subtle winds through either negative or positive kind of channels, like defiled or pure channels. And so depending on how our winds move at a certain time, all kinds of things can appear to us. What we really need to actually look at is the nature of our mind. The Buddha nature, that is the actual Buddha. It is the awareness that we need to recognize. And therefore, you should not have any hopes when, in terms of positive, pleasant experiences, and you should have no fear towards negative experiences or appearances. Because ultimately, both the good and the bad experiences all need to become liberated. And so when things appear, you do not grasp at whatever arises, that is called the mirror-like wisdom. Because through a mirror, anything can be reflected. There is no difference from the side of the mirror. The mirror does not grasp at any reflections. That is the mirror-like wisdom. And so then no matter what arises, good or bad, you do not think about it. It's all the same. That is the wisdom of equanimity. So only within that state of mindfulness, the qualities of those two wisdoms are complete. When I meditate, I feel energy enter from the top of my head and naturally cause my body to move in a circular motion. Sometimes the energy is very strong. I feel like heavy rain. It feels like heavy rain. I could feel very bright light like the sun. The energy is very pleasant and peaceful, and at the moment I am more aware and very mindful on my inhale and exhale. Is this normal? Kom jape kaplam teni ngarang chu ne ti hanga gore lok na shin rogotok lok chu nan rogotok ra teni lok tenga support sama chavires teni kolo na kon rogotos teni samsam ti lok ti be shuk chembo teni ti chaba shuk chembo baba na jura ti na jere teni samsam lok ti be wesal gores niman na shin teni ti lok ti pe chowa devo tok teni shiva dan deva dok teni ti kapla nga pe tenshi sarvore teni nga ok tolen de la tenshi de pe sarvote to gore ti jigi tues
ti pe ya pore ti a hama komo komi jo wo ta porte sa khachi yo 공자 진짜게 콜로마들이 이거 자하치요 이제도 초바지 거래 이나들아 빼야 버리선 거에 효과에 마상 파철 공자를 보여줘.
So it is generally a good experience, and it is just a sign that you have meditated in past lives, and that the crown and chakra is opening. And so, likewise, we are opening each of the chakras, of the 5 chakras, and then as they open, various things appear, various feelings arise. However, you should not think that it is good. And also you should not think it is bad. You should not think about it at all. So let anything appear, and continue to meditate. When I meditate, my hands, which are together in front of me, feel fused. They become heavy and I can no longer feel them, although I can see them. It feels like an energy field, silent and heavy. Does this signify anything? Angapom kaplam, teni nakpa in Zogoyola, in Zogola, teni nakpa the Chavashi Gabra, child evanescence. Nakpa needs to never damage, but that child evanescence to child is Chava never. Chava Chava never married. Nakpa need child evanescence, then it chivo Chava Chavare, then it Chava never Chavare, then I am tongue the dog, make tongue the dog, Lapa. In a Chava dog. Then this word nangshi da log nangshi chava ki dos chigo chava ina yang pon dark yang meba tela thanta chi do is
this is the nature in your typically since oji there's a lava the woman and the little part or only that Nobody got it. They just have some children. The whole something trouble, trouble, the child or that. The answer to go shooting, come to a level. Coming, the all time, the carrying, the support me.
So it is a quality of the abiding factor of shamatha, of the karma abiding. So at that time when the mind abides, also the mind is clear. But then if you feel that your hands, like you lose the feeling of your hands, then you should change the position of the hands. So then you can, for example, stretch them out over your knees, kind of open like this, and both sides, and then think that through the hands all the subtle winds naturally move outside. So there's no harm in your experience, but sometimes when the abiding factor is very strong, too strong, then we lose a sensation. For example, also it happens other parts of the body. We lose sensation of our legs, for example. And so at that time, you should move your body a little bit, and then the feeling will come back. But whatever it is, again, you do not think about it, do not investigate, do not try to figure it out, wondering what does it mean, what is it. It is just a part of your body, a quality of your body. Can we wash our hands right after we meditate? Can we leave our hair still wet after taking a shower when we meditate? Kom gyatsatum, so lakpatuna tigirves, lakpatu.
Is that what it is? Can you just email that to me?
Yeah.
Can you wet after taking a shower? Huh? Wait a minute. Can we leave our hair wet after the shower when we meditate? So first you take the shower and then you meditate with wet hair? Or?
Mm-hmm.
So Rinpoche says anything is okay. You can wash, or you can have wet hair when you meditate. It doesn't make a difference. So there's only one thing you're not allowed to do, we should not do, and that is to quarrel, to fight with others, to get angry at others. So apart from that, you're allowed to do anything.
Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. 30 minutes break.
ướt hay là mình rửa tay thì cái điện nó không có lưu thông được khi tóc mình ướt. Cho nên khi mà mình ngồi thiền xong mình rửa tay, coi như cái điện mà mình được truyền trữ trong người nó luôn chuyển. Khi mình rửa tay thì theo cái nước nó sẽ đi ra hết những cái điện ở trong người của mình. Cho nên em hả? Không, nhưng mà biết, nhưng mà mình after meditate á, sợ cái mình giữ cái điện ở trong người của mình á, cho nên that's why mình hỏi specific hơn. Nghĩ đến điện thoại. Sợ, tại vì sợ lúc khi mình ngồi thiền nên mình bật hết mấy cái điện mình lưu trữ trong người đó thôi. No, but at least lưu thông mất được một buổi thì mình ổn. Cái quan trọng thì mình speak and aware your mindfulness, hai người có khi nói không trả được gì đó Phương. No, em vẫn like. Nhưng mà em chỉ milk. Enough only morning. After is fine. After lunch is fine. Oh, then go back and watch it. Everybody says fine. Maybe your ear have problem. YouTube after lunch is fine. It's perfect. Everyone is not in the morning. Oh, then you have problem. Không, em sẽ gửi playlist ra later on after session, then people can go back and watch it.
Do you think now that we've got stability with this, now we can add the regular audio feed to this?
I think we can, because I watched how to upload the audio only to YouTube. You can do that. Because I add everything in the playlist now here. So when I send out the playlist here, here, the link like English and Vietnamese, like English, I cover all the like whoever we recorded, and then people just click on the playlist. It will show the list of all the videos.
Well, what I'm saying is, can we, instead of using the microphone in there, can we use the microphone input like we're doing over here? Have you listened to the English one here? No, because it's not great.
I can, because remember I talked to Ryan.
Oh, that's right, with that computer.
He say this one.
Yes.
Some computer they can't read it, so I have to buy the USB one type. The USB like this, you insert it with the split male and female instead of this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of computer they cannot read this.
Well, we had done it before. We used it before, didn't we? Didn't we do that for the band? We did that on the cover?
Yeah, but I don't know why it didn't work. So now it could read. So I have to buy the USB for the split to see if it works for next time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I listened to it. Yeah.
It's kind of
Very.
noisy.
Yeah, you can hear all the ambient noise in there.
Oh, now I milk the sound.
Well, I mean, this is what was recorded.
It's still live. It's still live now.
Yeah, this is what was recorded here. Put this.
Yeah, because they picked up Susu's voice too. separate limit
Yeah.
louder. Or like tree used to have the wireless microphone with the big filter and
Oh.
the holders. When she talked, remember she didn't her voice isn't picked up.
Yeah,
Like
but
she talked very low.
we were using a direct connection too.
Yeah, so that one is better than her voice. But this one you can hear. That's why you hear her sound in the background. She's not that loud. Oh, you've been stopped? You stopped? I just talked.
Oh.
I just turned back. Oh, it's been stopped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I stopped it.
Ah.
알았어. 이미 있어. 이미야. 우리 세유비 선지. 그냥 이마고 그냥 대해서 대지가 있어. 이래서가 주바가 뭐가 있어. 준비해서가 가시기 먼저 나서 정치를 당시로 준비 하다가 좋다고요. 사실 요즘이야 그런 것도 위에서 맞아 되게는 이코 제탕 제도가 탕치기 정말 탕치가 에서 생사고 되는 탕치를 효과를 탕치는 이코 남이 제가 싸우면 잘하는 거예요. 내가 이 연구를 하지 그걸 하지 가르치고 참선에서 전 영어가 전 그냥 탕치고를 항상 지지고 이제 정치 전 교육이 수없어. 내가 사실 동생이 빼기送문제에서送거라는 근데 제일 기초로 가지고 좀 정적으로 봐도 고만 찾지 최단된 맞지 저는 또한 중앙 계산서 어떤 게는 나시는 계획인데 그런 또한 뜻만 보러라 오늘 또한 자리 하자 주말에 송하는 말하지 그리고 하자 주말에 송하는 말하지 가르쳐 좀 물어봐가지고 뒤에는 샘때는 보를 해서 사니까 제가 소발에 제가 배제나게 어느 피한테 잡탕기 제자를 왜냐 나탕 이 동아탕지나 하등 속치와 동아 안 들어오는 거예요. 나는 왜 속치고 그렇고 말이야. 소통을 지는 데를 한 입을 다 보는 걸 한 입을 다 너무 탕지를 다 대지 말고 뭐나 대지 말고 근데 하여간 속치는 동아를 속으로서라 되게 용어를 정로를 많이 딱 보는 거예요. 남아 네 stories.
So there's this three types of shamatha. The one without a support, the one without the breath, and the one without characteristics. And so what these three have in common is that they have no object of focus. The mind abides more naturally. And so here at this time, in this without any focal object, in this context without focal object, there are two types of practicing shamatha, and that has to be applied according to the need. So one is applying more focus, and the other one is being more relaxed. So, and that depends depending on your state of mind when you're meditating. You always change that. So when you, for example, when you get too focused, when you meditate, then that is also not good, because when the mind is too tense, then you will always feel uncomfortable, something is painful and so on. And also from a too tense focus, actually the mind gets also easier tired. If you force yourself, push yourself too much to focus, you also get tired from doing that. And so then the other extreme is being too relaxed. If you're too relaxed, you can't even focus at all. Then you can't sit straight, and then that also leads to sleepiness. But that's the worst kind of sleepiness. The sleepiness that arises from too much focus is a little bit better because there's also some clarity. But the sleepiness that arises from too much relaxation is just will lead to sleep and unclarity. So that is therefore a worse form of sleepiness. And so we must apply focus or relaxation depending on the need interchangeably. So sometimes when you feel a bit sluggish and dull, you need to apply more focus. And sometimes when you feel like too tense, then you need to relax a bit more. So you have to change in this way. You have to be focused when necessary and relaxed when necessary. A moderation between the two. There is an example that comes from the Buddha's teaching on shamatha. The Buddha taught how to practice the perfect moderation between being focused and being relaxed. And so he gave this instruction to a disciple who was a guitar player, and he asked him, so are you really good at guitar playing? And he said, I'm an expert in guitar playing. So then, also maybe you can relate to that. There's many among you who also are musicians. So the Buddha then asked the guitar player, so what produces the better sound? If the strings are pulled very tightly, or if the strings are very loose, what will produce the better sound? And then he responded, there must be a moderation. It must be somewhere in between, too tight and too loose. And then the Buddha said, meditation should be practiced just like that, not too tight and not too loose. Just like stringing a guitar, the strings of a guitar. So that is just an example, and actually it can apply to all kinds of instruments. Whatever we do in too much extreme does not produce a pleasant experience. For example, when you play the drum, you play too strong, then it hurts your ears. So there must be a right measure for the perfect sound to be produced. And then the same goes for any kind of instrument. There's always the right measure to it. And then also for our meditation, there must be the right measure in between too focused and too relaxed. So something in between. And so that is the most important instruction here.
사실은 내가 똑바로 그런 나고 춤 파마도 고 당선 아무 제대로 등에 용도 뒤등에 쳐 체력이 다 등에 찍다면 나한테 제대로 등에 용도 뒤등에 이제 같이 가라시 타고 망고 같이 내가 문제 레벨 띠는 뭐는 쳐봐도 돼 좋은데 뒤등에 용도 알게 되네 소소하게 남아지대 자체 류력도 랑게 뉴모게 레서 랑게 레서 봐 마시네 아 파미도 고방도 상도에 이 상도는 아니 팽게 주마시 동치고데 변화 소리 되죠 오만 무시에 들이 놓고 딱히 양은데 동일에 해라고지 다들 kij장도 들이 놓고 다 대화 쳐서 동일에 집에 대화 매시는 동네 자원 많은 것들 동네 충청도 용어 이제 동시 치고 저기로 무슨 동네 치고 용어 따뜻한 동네 차차한테 비교 말이죠 라트 비교해서 대화 초기로 이제 동네에 대해서 다 대화 초기로 동네 자원이 대화 초기로 그런 것을 보라 다 이야 나와서 막 뭐다 매서 자원 통야이만 스피드 동타는 처럼 차고 오, 마포 나는 롱바디 야 문에서 롱바다 대화 기술이 있잖아. 들이 가리켜 보는 사람들. 다 재미를 비야 그 얼마 차와치 사람은 좀 기장들이 차와치서는 야구는 얘기하는 내가 얼마 베이스에서 이 생물도 하는 맞아서 저게 세계적 내절 말에서 내가 있지마도 내가 차성 대화용을 지화를 해서 알아서 그 대화도 그 지화 정보에서 용의 용을 나한테 용을 줘버렸어. 나한테 용을 다 다이버렸어. 이 바야는 이제 좀 매했어. 이 바지 바꿔다. 가르치는 내 하고서는 내가 직접 바꿔다고 말해. 어찌나 뭐 개그성이 좀 보여요. 마음과 좀 차지잖아. 마음과 차지 요거래. 쓰다가 참만 차지 요거래. 소식 차지했던 요거를 내 속성을 너무 짜는 말이야. 내가 너무 짜는 걸 내비서도 차지 요거래. 너무 말이지. 오늘 다다산 사람을 샜는데 조치고를 권태라서 또 기회가 찾아보는 정답에 의해서 고압을 좀 주소도 고답도 그러니 이 야던들이 지도받을 기회를 나타나 그냥 이거 토를 기초를 그러지.
And so also in some of the questions I came up, and people often say that they just cannot stop this thinking in their mind when they meditate. And so it is said that first in the beginning, when we practice shamatha and meditation, we should stop the thinking about whatever happened in the past, present, or future. And so when we talk about stopping the thinking, it is also important to really understand how we should do that. How should we stop the thinking? So for that, we need to understand the nature of the 3 times, and then we can stop thinking about them and recognize the thoughts about them as an illusion, a confused state of mind. So, for example, how we can understand the past, or stop the past. Some people, for example, remember all those things that happened in the past. For example, some people say that when I was young, my parents abused me, and now that traumatized me for my entire life, and now I still have to suffer from this. So they bring that suffering with them in their entire life. Although now it's all gone, there is no problem right now, but still in their mind they bring this suffering with them. They keep remembering that. And that even leads them often to suicide, although there is no outer problem. So we've heard many instances about that before, reported by disciples and so on. So that is the delusion here, to cling to something that's actually not even happening. It is said that if you wish to know what you did in the past, look at your present body. So in the past, you have engaged in actions with an afflicted state of mind. So not understanding that, we blame our parents, for example, for abusing us, and then we keep thinking about that. And so then what is the benefit of doing that? What is the benefit of keep thinking about that? So that is really the fault, the problem that comes when we do not understand the Dharma. Because then we don't understand karma. If you understand karma, it becomes very easy. Then even if something very bad happened to you in the past, you would just think that now it's all gone. So suffering is actually a very easy thing. It was there before, now it's gone. So then we can just let go of it. Now nothing is here left anymore. And then we can just close the door to it and stop thinking about it. So that is when we understand karma. And then such a person does actually not suffer, because they just let go of what happened. And often actually, because they have experienced some suffering before, they actually understand really what is happiness. They can really become aware of happiness, of well-being. A person who has never experienced any difficulty, any suffering before, will be overwhelmed by the slightest problem and consider it to be the biggest problem. And somebody who understands that, who understands suffering, even if they actually encounter really a big problem, they will not really suffer much from that. They will not think it's such a big problem. They will easily be able to let go of it. And from the experience, they will also learn to appreciate well-being. A person who never suffers also cannot appreciate well-being. For example, in a country like Tibet, for example, we have only at the most 3 months of summer, and hardly ever, apart from that, you ever see any flowers or any green at all. It's all like ice ice desert land. And so when I was very young, that was all I knew. And as a young boy, I always thought that wouldn't it be a wonderful place where the summer never changes and it never turns to winter? Because in Tibet we only had winter most of the time. So a place where it's always summer, never turns to winter, must be like Pure Land, the best place. And so that perception changed when I came to Taiwan, where it's always too hot and it never changes. It never actually becomes winter. So then there you wish it would finally become winter, but then it is always hot. So only when you experience that do you appreciate the changing of the season between summer and the winter. And so before you experience that, you never appreciate the well-being. And you don't recognize it. So it shows really that it is only the way we see things, the way our mind sees things, and it has nothing to do with what actually happens in the outer environment. It's only about how we perceive that. And so if we understand suffering, then we will also appreciate happiness and perceive happiness in a different way. And so then also, understanding happiness, we recognize, knowing karma, that the cause of that is love, and then we create more love. And if we suffer, we know that this is a result of self-grasping and the afflictions. And so then we recognize that these afflictions are still present now in my mind. So then I can make sure that I will not create more of these causes of suffering for the future. And so then, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, nothing will overwhelm you. You will not hold on to anything at all. You can let go of anything that happened in the past, just like throwing it into the garbage. So that is about the past. This is how we can understand the past, to let go of it. And then for the future, how we let go of thoughts of the future. So we make plans for our future, and that is also a modern tradition, and we must make some plans for our future. But then, although that's fine to make a plan, also the outcome of our plans really depends on our karma, and we really have no control over it at all. So whether the outcome will be well-being or suffering, we don't know. It depends on our karma. And so although it is fine to make some plans, but the outcome of that we cannot control. We have no control over it. And so therefore, since we can't control it, it is more important to focus on the practice of meditation right now. And so, and future lifetimes. So if we understand the 3 times in that way, then we can just close the door to all kinds of thoughts and just let go of all these thoughts, like throwing them into the garbage. And so that's why it is important to understand the nature of the 3 times.
이게 나한테 좀 선택이 이제 바뀌는 거래. 따다다 뭐 그런 이제 바꿔요. 오, 막 내가 저 생내고 저때를 좀 야는 거래. 진짜 바뀌게. 아, 내가 제일 나고 저 당한테 가고 선 진짜 많이 가래. 저 이마에 산지 봐. 이제 딱 타고 가도 되나. 오. 아, 내는 말해서 좋아서 가르쳐는 좋아 청구해서는 가서 아기 시집을 그래 대선 저는 저쪽 좋아서 관도했다 난 내고서 아이 좋아 가고서는 가고서 그렇게 나지 나도 이나 맞지네 생포가 아주 거기에도 야서는 뒤지가 있지 대선 전화하고 요한야를 쳐다보는 게 뭐 요한은 아무도 뒤냐는 기억을 다들 가고서는 롯데는 미국선을 진짜 많이 대미소선 그 가이 카운티 그런데 세고서 대대들이 필요한 것은 정말 가정이나 가서는 다 톡들이 이제 마찬가지 잘 자토도 받아 가져들래 그거를 그것을 이렇게 뭐 이 권능에서 이제 가게 요청으로 이 원천 집단에 지난이 방법 거기다 가도 우리 공자고 이런 거 공자고 그러면 쭉 지나치 가르치는 비도 하고서 이거 완벽히 다시 지나치 이거는 완벽히 쳐다보고 있고 제 가족하고 대신 강의가 능력에서 나오는 거 그런 거예요. 그 진이 제 나타다 그렇게 라고 이제 이제 공부되지 않는 쇼핑하지 내가 다 가지고 혼나다 그걸 반복으로 저랑 까만하고는 그런 거예요. 하도 비와준 뜨막간지 보면 거야 피제 좀이래. 무슨 좀 강는 내가 있는 지금 뜨막간지 다 거야 피제 자야 다 뜨막을 그렇게 보여주고 그렇지 되게 버리게 그냥 너가 쉬지.
So there's the shamatha without characteristics. And so that means that the mind simply abides in its natural state, unaltered, without doing anything to it, just leaving it be as it is, without changing it in any way. And so that means without grasping at anything. So right now, when we meditate, there is grasping in our mind. The first grasping is, first of all, we want to meditate. We think I must abide still. I must accomplish this stillness, the shamatha. So that is the first grasping that comes in meditation. And then next thoughts arise, and then we want to. We do not want to have those thoughts. So we think I want to get rid of that thought. So that's the second grasping. So the ultimate grasping is this rejecting of thoughts and following those thoughts. So when the mind, when you meditate, you must be free of all kind of grasping. So don't even worry about abiding or not abiding. If I abide, then that's fine. If I do not abide, then I do not abide. Whether the mind is moving or whether there is thoughts in the mind or no thoughts, it's all the same. As long as you sustain clear mindfulness, anything can arise. Then there is no problem with thoughts appearing in the mind. So then when thoughts appear, you just recognize them. When there are no thoughts, then again you recognize that. You look at the mind how it is then. There's no grasping then at that stage of shamatha. There's no grasping at abiding, wishing to abide or wanting to get rid of thoughts and so on. So there is no rejecting and no accepting. You just let the mind be naturally as it is, without changing anything, doing anything at all. And when small movements of thoughts appear, you look at them, you recognize them, and then you observe how they come and then again go, just like the waves on the water. And then that is an experience that you gain. You gain the experience that actually there's no harm in the thought. The thought just comes and goes. You witness its arising and then it goes away and it has not affected you in any way. So that is the experience that you gain. And when you grasp, that is when you want to let go of the thought, when you want to abide, then it will make your mind only become exhausted. So when the mind looks at mind itself, then it should just remain in its completely pure natural state without grasping at anything at all. So the ultimate grasping is the rejecting and the accepting of thought in the mind. So this grasping thought of I must meditate also is a confused state of mind. And so slowly as we reach these steps of meditation, we can let go of even these forms of grasping. But then in the beginning, when we start with our short-term meditation sessions, in the beginning we need some of that, some of the like accepting and rejecting. In the beginning we must have a wish to meditate. We must want to meditate. And then we must also not want to have those thoughts in the beginning. But then as we habituate, then we gain the experience that actually there is no harm when the thoughts arise. They just come and they go on their own like waves. So then just naturally you will become free of grasping at them or wanting to reject them. And so then the mind is very relaxed and the mind is in control and the mind does not become exhausted. So that is when we come to the shamatha without characteristics. So then we come back to the remainder of the questions. So for the meditation practice, you can practice that at home. And also, especially early in the morning is good, although many of you might have to go to work in the morning, so actually you can meditate whenever you have time. Even if you only have 5 minutes at any time, use this time to meditate. And if you're very busy, then you can also meditate when you go to pee in the restroom. Actually, when you pee, you actually during peeing, you will have the best experience of meditation. And so that's actually my own experience from prison time. Most of the time, we always had to work really hard. But then only when I went to the toilet to pee, I was able to meditate. I had the best meditation at that time. So that is my greatest experience of meditation. We have questions left. Finish them. And those who have no questions, you can meditate. What is the best way to refocus when finding regret and sadness when trying to meditate? Regret and sadness for something one has done and for being without diligence as a practitioner. Sometimes you send the Josem, or a big water related, you send him to give the Karesena. Tanga Chundrio Mari, not Chubaya Pomari, then not Yamaya Pomari, you said the Josem together, and the Gara Karachi.
Mamma Janati, I take your Ticali, you send over my scientific was sorcery, Tataran capture the Children, you send the Pai, I'm not the one telling it, shook at me. You did not come down to my
So even you can think that even though you did not meditate in the past, now you're meditating, and so therefore there is no regret because now you are meditating. And Buddha nature is always there, so there is no need to regret anything. At any time you can meditate, so you have to let go of that thought and just focus on the present. I'm meditating now. Now I must make an effort, and actually you should meditate in all the things you do throughout the day. So also when you're eating, you can meditate. When you meditate while you're eating, then eating becomes a Gana chakra, a feast offering. Or when you just think of the home, you're meditating. Or when you think of the Lama, the Guru, you're meditating. Because at those times, there is no thought of an I. So therefore, Milarepa said, when you're eating, it becomes a feast offering, a Gana chakra. When you're walking, it is a circumambulation. When you're sleeping, it is to sustain the clear light of the dream state. Can you explain more on letting go of the 5 afflictions?
No, Bonjani, Kalamaki, the Yoksai, Yumba Karakiman, the Yumba, Esi Harpo, Kalamaki, Luaka, Bonja, and Rami, we go. If you want to talk to people, you want to talk to me, Matu, I saw you, man. 도착된 초청 회장님 모두가 선생님 모두는 연방 차도님 조직이라고 발생하고 있는 몽초 차대요. 차도님 뭐 조직상 대지가 하나님 교회가 이제 이나도 많더니 대통령이 진짜와 차대가 당시에 이나도 많더니 뭐 보는 좋아 차대 대통령은 지기 대법원에 대통령이 뭐라 진시 님부 기본 진시 기본 님부 중송에서这个做些上面，如果长期的过，如果我们在长期跟着配合的，年嘛，如果我们这里有那的，他们家属配合的，听到了如果中人啊。
And so there's actually nothing to do apart from meditating. All you need to do is meditate and not do anything actually. But by just meditating, you already have let go of the afflictions. So all that needs to be done is to recognize there is this affliction, and then just meditate and don't do anything else. You don't do anything with your body and your speech, you just meditate. And then the affliction goes by itself, just through the power of meditation. There is no need to reject it. And if it does not go away even through the power of meditation, then you can also rely on the 37 bodhisattva practices. There is different antidotes, for example, to attachment. You practice ethical discipline, or as an antidote to anger, patience, or an antidote to greed, generosity, and then there's an antidote for jealousy and all the other afflictions. So diligence and meditation is an antidote to all of the afflictions. So mindfulness, diligence in mindfulness is the antidote to all of the afflictions. So you put on the armor of mindfulness. And what is most important, the most crucial affliction here is that of hatred or anger. And so for that you practice patience. And in fact, patience can overcome all the other afflictions too, all the 5 afflictions. So actually the best method to let go of any of the afflictions is to be patient and to be diligent. So after 2 types of 2 truths, on the ultimate level, it is sufficient to only have the special insight of Vipassana. That means to understand that there is no distinction between self and others. Self and others are non-dual. And that itself and nothing else is actually necessary. That itself will destroy all the 84,000 different afflictions. I will melt them like ice. And if you cannot practice in this way, but if you can cultivate love and compassion, then you can follow the 37 practices. Then, when there are so many thoughts arising one after another, should one try counting breath? That can also be beneficial. You can do that, but also, for example, you can practice the Om Home Mantra recitation that will naturally stop thinking. And And also, actually, the sound of mantra in general is beneficial to bring an end to thinking. But in reality, it is sufficient to only recognize the thoughts that arise, and then having recognized them, to just let them be, and experience how they then naturally dissolve. So that is actually the best sort of meditation. I'm doing first thing after I wake up. It's a 9 breathing and the holding of the breath, the base, pressure base, eventually up to several minutes with some movements. And there are a few inhalations and some uncontrollable minor leakings of exhale. I guess I need to be connected, Rinpoche. Shokaya Lamsarva, Shokaya Lamata, Tini Juk Kutoyora, Boyora, Tinga Chilius, Tini Ukumchin Chilius, Tini Samsalada Kamakashe, Ukshira Joyo Mare, Samsala Tis Uk Lengoyora, Tini Samsala Tis is Mashon Dogere, Manjara, Kamakashe, the song Topsari Manja. Tini tamsa di shron do walong. Tini pache tang na Rinpoche dis sem java months chavores. Tini ok tim chita ina karma kashi song toko ore. Ina tamsa di shron do ore. Tamsa di slay do ore.
Usu jabu mare. Oka yin ko kase de tamu de usu jabu mare. Oka yin ko ore.
So you don't have to force yourself to hold the breath at all. You just hold it for as long as you can hold it naturally without discomfort. But you should not push yourself to hold the breath to a point where it is uncomfortable. When I meditate without our teacher, it is okay. Is it okay when we meditate by ourselves? And so lama ang gigen mebe kabla, lama chipo imbe kabla. Tini tan tete ang kong gap choberes.
Gigi chang omja de lap chane won't gigi senda from om champion isha na dong mo shi ba de gigi sende gigi de nam gigi aborda lama de father lama pecha de teblo tama lama sende de la sende sa chok sende sa ba de ngi de lama re sa chok lama de gigi to ko mo shi ba de gigi de their point in that class of the teacher. You have on the Mondial in not on the Botava, the patients and not on the ship to Bacha. It is in that Hamathing, the Trashable or some any teaching contact, Lamb, the child, some common narrow, every year, or they some shut it up.
So actually, your teacher first explains to you how to meditate. But once you have learned from your teacher how to meditate, then you can meditate without the teacher by yourself. And so then actually the mind of the teacher and your own mind is actually the same. And the actual teacher is your inner mindfulness. It is the mindfulness that recognizes whatever arises, all the thoughts in the mind. That is your actual teacher. It is that in the beginning we rely on the outer teacher as our teacher, the outer guru as the guru. Then in the middle, we rely on the scriptures, the Dharma scriptures as the gurus. Then we read various Dharma books and so on. And then in the end, we should rely on our own mind as the guru. And that mind, which is the inner guru, is the mind of bodhicitta, of love and compassion, and mindfulness. That is the ultimate guru. It is the mindfulness that recognizes all the thoughts that arise, and that must be habituated. And so often when that is habituated, naturally answers to questions arise just through the power of your meditation. And that mindfulness has the power to destroy all kinds of thoughts. So it is like a teacher. It knows all and it destroys all thoughts. For example, first if you have a question and you think, I have this question today, and then you practice mindfulness, then sometimes when the mindfulness is very clear, the answer just naturally appears in your mind. And that is because due to the quality of your own mind, it is the wisdom that is inherent to your own mind. Your mind is the basis of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana. And so you can know anything because the wisdom is perfectly complete within your mind. And often when this quality, this expression of wisdom arises, you naturally just know the answer to a question. So that is the power of meditation. And often this is recognized at moments when very powerful devotion or very strong compassion arises. These are times when the mind is completely clear, and especially when strong compassion arises. That is actually most important. So you should recognize that the actual teacher is your own mind. And so as we progress on the different levels of practice and gain more and more experience, different feelings arise. So in the beginning, that is when there's still self-grasping, and when we perceive a duality of self and other, so from that perspective, we need to rely on the outer form of the guru. And so then we are attached to seeing the form of the guru. And then people think that I must meet the guru in person, in bodily form. And when I see the guru, then when I meet the guru, then all is well. And when I do not meet the guru in person, then things do not go so well. And so we perceive the guru in this dualistic way, separate. And so that is when we are practicing still in the level of the pratimoksha, the individual liberation. So we practice on this level for as long as we still perceive a duality of self and others. And then gradually as we progress and cultivate bodhicitta, when we have developed a vast mind of the four immeasurables, then we realize that the body of the guru is not so important. Actually, it is the mind of the guru. It is the bodhicitta of the guru. And the bodhicitta of the guru and my own bodhicitta are the same. So here, the mind is most important. We recognize love and compassion to be the mind of the guru. So that is to see the Sambhogakaya form of the guru. And that is to see the guru like the deity. And here you recognize that the guru can actually not ever really die. So the guru is beyond birth and death because the guru is the mind. And then on the ultimate level, when you realize non-duality, you realize that my own mind, the guru's mind, and the Buddha's mind are one. You attain the kingdom of the Dharmakaya, and then you realize that the guru is never born and never dies. And at that time, you see the guru as Vajradhara. And so then you recognize that there's no difficulty when the guru's form dies, because you know that the guru actually can never die. So in this way, as we gradually realize the view, we have different perceptions and also ways of seeing the guru. But now these are only words, so only an intellectual understanding. That explains to us how we perceive the guru. So these steps explain to us in words how we perceive the guru in stages. And so in the end, finally, we see the guru as the mind and not separate from our own mind. So therefore, there is no difficulty when the guru dies, and also not when oneself dies, because you also recognize that you yourself actually never really die. The nature of the mind is beyond birth and death. I started having heartburn or feeling of acid reflex when saying mantras. I only have when eating something. Have that when eating something before. I want to continue mantras, but have anxiety about it. Ini di Jogona di Jurmo Chautia Yongurva, Tata Kalabasa, Chautia Yongurva, in a brother of the Buddha Begabla, near Button Begabla, Jurmo Chautia Yongre, Kobanana, Kalayam, Maritan Chabashi, Chaba, Chagdo, Jurmo Yonguda, Namjuna Kalasa Yonguda, Franklin Mari, Panimba the Begabla in Yongudo. Nimba the Cabra, Nimba Captain, I didn't Madeira, she would travel it. From that to the Nimba the Gabo use, Yinea, Nimba, doing the mark doing this sheet. The Telakashi would it.
Here, my father just sent the on a day of it was a whole chova. Yeah, I did this all a young trouble where I sent cars over to the chova. They told it. 이와 나홀로 조금 이를 받는 행위를 나홀로 나와 좀 오고 이들이 마음만 공부하고 이제 빨리 나와 좀 오마 나와 좀 오만 되면 홍조 사진 나디 봐도 이렇게 빨리 보라다 그거 보고 되면 나하고 좀 와게 따야 어디도 보고 좀 되게 조금 더 가려서 거기 보고 내지 잘못 보는 되게 좋아하는 민도가 실제로 나올 때는 민도를
And so, actually, this you only you become aware of this feeling because the mind is abiding still, and this makes you be more aware of what actually is happening in your body, the feelings in your body. All the other times you're more distracted to the outside with various delusions, and you don't actually notice what is happening in your body. So whenever you feel any kind of discomfort, try to focus back down to the navel. Focus your awareness at the navel, and you can, for example, visualize the mantra garland there. You can visualize at the navel like a small moon disc, And then the seed syllable and the mantra garland, for example, Om Mani Padme Hum, the short mantra surrounding. And then you can think it begins to slowly begins to rotate. And then it becomes quicker. For example, like there's these necklaces, these prayer wheel necklaces, very small prayer wheels. Just like you're spinning it like this small prayer wheel, and then it becomes quicker and quicker. So then it becomes so quick that you do not even recognize you do not even see the rotation any longer, and that emits a natural sound of mantra. So when you focus on that single pointedly, then this feeling of discomfort should go away. One feels pulled in many directions and obligations in meditating while active. How does one determine how to best direct one's efforts in work, donation, meditation, volunteering, etc., and family? 주반 연애 집에 가다 때는 가서다 지대 가서 때 내가 담을 열어 밑에 들라 배나면서 검은 겨울에 이내 가서 내가 시험하고 열어 배나면서 내가 제거를 했더니 구조가 들어왔디 나는 약 고름 간데 것을 내가 제야당 배나 곰바라 셴데도 뭐 피어로 출어 셴데 피어로 신바다야 되니 검겨야 되니 당랑 내가 제야 되니 소설 남매가 답답하고 자라 다 된서 다 고름 지고라 당보 간데 것을 했더니 정말다 하나 진교다 지우래
그래서 초성은 묘바다 때문에 라는 묘바 삼시에 되니 반복을 하는 거 봤지. 이 묘바 매바 삼시가 장난을 해가지. 그 대양 모습이 사실 양인체 삼시에 배우 집발에 안 그들이 고깝다 안 출동을 해가지 좋아해. 제가 안게 내처럼 공부를 했죠. 이제 배우 집발에
in terms of setting those priorities, it really depends on your circumstance too. There is no order of priority, but for example, if you're more wealthy, then of course you can practice more donation, more generosity. You can help out with your wealth. Or if not, you can offer your voluntary service, or you can offer your practice. Actually, the benefit of all these is actually the same. So whether you have the opportunity to help financially or work, or you meditate, actually, whatever good you can do actually has the same benefit. What is the role of prayer and chanting in relation to meditation? What should we focus on and practice? Teni kom kya pe kaplara, teni khaten toya, teni nyemba toya, kanda jigo to, teni ngasata cho khara jigo kom kya gore, khaten toya gore, nyemba toya gore, nyano ki nyam do jigo gore.
Ako kaka jigo gore. 얘들 가족으로 가면 가족으로 통통으로 걸고 야 다들 걸고 가면이 가족으로 가봐야 내가 지금 많이 뭐 네가 돈을 또 가지고 빨리 막 유치해가 저기 내가 돌아가는 거라 뭐 빨리 받게 가지고 막 통통 막 가는 것들이 약속들이 이 공부를 조금 이제 yapılıyor.
So in the beginning, it is best to separate these practices of meditation and mantra recitation and reciting prayers. So that means when you're doing your prayers, you only focus on the prayers. If you have a short time to meditate, then you only do the meditation. If you have more time, you can also do longer prayers. And the mantra recitation, for example, the chanting of mantra, you can do it, you should do it in all your activities, in whatever you do. You should actually always continuously recite the mantra. And whenever you do your ordinary job or you drive your car and so on. And actually, at any time, we should not stop reciting the mantra. So you can just recite a short mantra or any mantra. And if you have the time, it is best if you meditate, and then you only focus on meditation. So also, so now it's the time the end of the teachings, but in terms of practicing here, actually, you can always come here to meditate. Now you have also the temple here, and the temple is also here. All has come together, and representations of these rituals are here. And of the Guru, and also there's a Buddha statue that is filled with relics and many precious objects. And it was actually given by His Holiness Garchen Rinpoche, who will join us in a few days. We come here. So if only just a few disciples, 4 or 5 disciples, come together here and practice, it's really very beneficial. For example, you practice together a Mani mantra, or take refuge, or you recite prayers, long-life prayers. And you should do prayers like for others, for example, of medicine, or Buddha, or Tara, or to help others. All of that is organized by the center here. And also, in terms of meditation, if it is difficult for you to sit, if you can't sit very comfortably, you can use the meditation belt. There's 2 meditation belts here that I will leave here at the center at the temple. So when you're here for your meditation, you can borrow them. They are here for your use. They stay in the temple, but when you're here, you're free to use them if it benefits you, if it helps you. So normally it is very beneficial. It is a great support to help you sit in a sitting cross-legged posture for a longer time. And eventually also it is very conducive for recognizing the dream luminosity in the sleep state so you're able to remain in an upright, cross-legged posture. So if you think it is very beneficial, then you can also use it as a measure and make your own meditation belt. So here I will offer 2 meditation belts to the center, the temple, and you are free to use them while you're meditating here at the temple.
Education, page 28. For these realms,
snuggle flowers, snow-covered mountains,
you are the source of every benefit and bliss without exception. Thank God for you who are one with all of Ishvara. May you remain steadfast until samsara ends. Embodiment of the 3 precious pures,
Prabhupada,
who holds the teaching of the virtuous monk, seeing all goodness beginning with the wisdom eye. May you who are spontaneously establishing activity during long 400 of kalpas. Lord Parvajeshwari, the Lord of Speech, who manifests toward the teaching of the Tripitaka, who relies the lamp of the sage's teachings, May you who are the light of Dharma, living on for hundreds of kalpas, the one known in holy name Sayadeva, emanated into the Garchen Rinpoche's bed as Chidengpa, the hot sun of Jigten Sungrum, may the love of glorious Garchen remain steadfast from unending. In this age of life, when the victorious teaching faces hardship, through his powerful Vajra like comrade, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the understated teaching. May God be the son of the teaching live on. Page 38. 38. Emaho. In the center is the marvelous Buddha Amitabha of Boundless Lake. On the right side is the Lord of Great Compassion, and on the left is Vajradhana, the Lord of Powerful Means. All are surrounded by Methodist Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The miserable peace and happiness is the blissful pure lane of Devachin. When I and all beings pass from samsara, may we be born there without taking samsaric rebirth. May we have the blessing of meeting Amitabha face to face. By the power and blessing of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as the 10 directions, may we attain this aspiration without a hindrance. Diyaka Tinkadaya Avakodhanaya Soha. Once together.
이번에 비록 참지 참은 그리버리 참아 제가 요거를
All the religious practitioners in the world are Sangha, so we should have devotion to them all.
Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Em cho chị một tờ giấy. Thì người ta hỏi câu hỏi đi viết xuống submit.
Cho chị collect lại quyển Book of Prayer, please. Book of Prayers.
Collect.
Book of Prayers, anyone? Dạ em đi Chủ nhật ở đây có ngày khách tới
Bye chị, mai gặp chị hả?
Finally all coming together good. Did you try this?
Còn một cái bánh bè nó thiếu phải cái không tiếp thôi quay lại từ đầu đọc.
Được lên.